All right, Algebra 2, we are going to review all the different operations with rational expressions that we have worked on. This is going to put all simplifying, adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing, complex fractions, do some of all of them, and then you're going to have a quiz. Oh, we have one more thing. We're going to do some applications, and then you're going to have a quiz. So again, I'm going to do everyone on this notes page. And if you feel like you know it and you don't want to go through every single problem, you don't have to. These are just your notes for you. So let's look at number 1. All we're doing here is simplifying. So we have to factor the top and factor the bottom. We're going to factor 6x squared out. So we end up with x plus 1. And we're going to factor a 2x out of the denominator. So we're left with x squared minus 1. And then we're going to have to factor this x squared minus 1. So we get 6x squared over x plus 1 over 2x. And x squared minus 1 can factor into x minus 1, x plus 1, because it's a difference of 2 perfect squares. Now everything's factored, so you can start canceling things. 2 goes into there once, 2 goes into there 3 times. This x can cancel with one of those, and we're left with a 3x in the numerator and an x minus 1 in the denominator. And that's our answer. All right, let's go on to number 2. We're going to factor these. So this is a yucky one. We're going to have to do this thing. So I'm going to do it up here. We're going to rewrite it as n squared minus 12n plus 36. And we're going to say what multiplies to give you 36 and adds to give you negative 12. And I think that's going to be, what is it going to be? 3 goes into there 12 times. That's not going to help us. Oh, it's going to be a 6. 6 times 6 is 36. Negative 6 plus negative 6 is negative 12. So then we have to divide by 4. And we have to reduce those 6 over 4s before we can move it up here. We have to reduce that to 3 halves. So this factors into 2n minus 3, 2n minus 3. All right, down here, we're going to do the same thing. 2 times 27. So I'm going to do it down here, and then I'm going to erase it. We're going to have n squared plus 15n minus 27 times 2 would be 14, 1, 2, 3, 4, 54. All right. So we say what multiplies to give you negative 54 and adds to give you 15. I think that's going to be 3 and 18. Okay, 3 times 18 is 54. Remember, this one's going to be plus and that one's going to be minus. But we have to divide by a 2. So here, since 3 halves is already reduced, we can write that as 2n minus 3, and this is n plus 9. So going back up here, this becomes 2n minus 3 and n plus 9. And I wrote that wrong down here. And what can we cancel? 2n minus 3 and 2n minus 3. So our answer is 2n minus 3 over n plus 9. And that is our answer. Whew, that was kind of complicated. All right, I'm going to erase this right here so I have more space. Let's see if I can fit this all in. All right, now we're going to multiply. When we multiply, we are just going to factor each part. So this one right here, we can factor a 6a out of, and we're left with 7a minus 4. And 3a minus 9, we can factor a 3 out of, and we're left with a minus 3. In the denominator here, we can factor out a 3, and we're left with 7a minus 4. And down here, we can factor out a 6a, and we're left with 1. Oh, nope. We're left with, oh my goodness. We're taking a 6a out, so we're left with a plus 4. All right. Yep. All right. What can we cancel? Well, 7a minus 4, 7a minus 4. And these 3's can cancel, the 6a's can cancel, and we're left with a minus 3 over a plus 4. Okie dokie. Over here to number 4. What can we factor? 49 minus y squared. That is a difference of 2 perfect squares. And in the denominator, we can take out a 6y. So we're left with y plus 7. And 48y squared is already simplified. So then we can say what multiplies to give you 21 and adds to give you negative 10. And that's going to be negative 7 and negative 3. And what can we cancel? 7 minus y, y minus 7. Can we cancel those? Yes, we can cancel them only if we put a negative somewhere on the top or on the bottom. And y plus 7, 7 plus y, those we can cancel because it doesn't matter with addition. This y can cancel with one of those. And 6 goes into there 8 times. So in the numerator, we're left with negative 8y. And in the denominator, we're left with y minus 3. And that's our answer. All right, we're moving on to the division problems. Just like multiplication, except you take the reciprocal. So as we do this, we're going to factor. W squared minus 81 factors into w minus 9, w plus 9. The denominator, oh, we got to do this thing. So we get w squared plus 27w minus 28. And when we go ahead and factor that, we get 28 and 1. And this will be plus, this will be minus. And then we have to divide by 4. And so that factors to w plus 7 for w minus 1. Okay, I hope that that is making sense to you. And then this one, w squared minus 5w minus 36. What multiplies to give you negative 36 and adds to give you, oh, I did that wrong. We've got to take the reciprocal. So we have to do this bottom one on the top. So let's do that. What multiplies to give you 28 and adds to give you 11? 7 and 4. And now remember that we have to take the reciprocal of this. What multiplies to give you negative 36 and adds to give you negative 5, negative 9 and 4. What can we cancel? W minus 9, W plus 7, W plus 4, and we're left with W plus 9 over 4W minus 1. And that's our answer. All right, let's look at the next one. What can we factor out of this? We can factor out a 30c squared. So we're left with c minus 2. And the denominator, we can't do anything. We got to take the reciprocal of this. So we think of this as 1 over. So it's going to be 1 over this way. And first of all, we're going to factor out a 2. So we're left, oh, nope. We're actually going to factor out a 2c. So we're left with c squared minus 8c plus 24. So when we factor that, we got our 2c, and we're going to say what multiplies to give you 24 and adds to give you negative 8, and that is going to be No, that was wrong because we took a 2 out of there. So when we take a 2 out of there, that gives you a 12. So what multiplies to give you 12 and adds to give you -8? That's going to be 6 and 2. And what can we cancel? C minus 2, C minus 2. We can say 3 goes into there once, 3 goes into there 10. 2 goes into there once, 2 goes into there 5. This C can cancel with one of those. And in the numerator, we're left with 5C. And in the denominator, oh, look, I have another C. So that C can also cancel with that C. So in the numerator, we're left with just 5. And in the denominator, we're left with C minus 6. And that's our answer. Let's look at number 7. Here is addition and subtraction. These first ones, they already have the same common denominator. So we just add straight across. 17K plus 3K is 17, 18, 19, 20. K plus 10 over 8K plus 4. But now we need to simplify. We can factor out a 10 in the numerator, and we're left with 2K plus 1. We can factor out a 4 in the denominator, and we're left with 2K plus 1. Look at that. Now we can cancel, and 2 goes into there twice, 2 goes into there 5 times, and our answer is 5/2. All right, here we have subtraction. Remember that it's subtracting this whole thing. So it's 9m minus 12 minus m plus 28 in the numerator. The denominator I'm going to factor here is m minus 5, m plus 5. All right, so this negative has to go to both. 9m minus m is 8m. Negative 12 minus 28 is negative 40. Okay, it's negative 12 minus 28 over our denominator. Then we have to factor our numerator. We can factor an 8 out. And we can cancel those, and we're left with 8 over m plus 5. M plus 5. Okay, that's number 8. Let's look at number 9. Number 9 doesn't have a common denominator. We'd have to get one. What's going to be our common denominator? It's going to be 24y. So we can multiply this by 2 over 2, and this by y over y. And we're left with 6 plus 9y over 24y. Are we done? No. We can factor out a 3 in the numerator. And then we can say 3 goes into there once, 3 goes into there 8. And we can have 2 plus 3y over 8y. And now we're done. All right, over here for this one, we got to factor this denominator to figure out what our common denominator is going to be. What multiplies to give you negative 27 and adds to give you negative 6. That's going to be a negative 9 and a plus 3. We already have a p plus 3 here, so we're going to have to multiply by p minus 9 over p minus 9. And we get p squared plus 2p minus 51. Now you don't want to factor this yet because we have a subtraction or an addition there. Minus 4 times p minus 9. That's our numerator. Okay, our denominator is this p minus 9 times p plus 3, but let's just simplify our numerator first. This becomes p squared plus 2p minus 51 minus 4p plus 36, because this negative 4 distributes to both of those, which equals p squared. Then we got 2p minus 4p, so that's negative 2p, and negative 51 plus 36 which is negative 15. And if we factor that, we get 5 and 3, negative plus. And remember that we still have this denominator from up there that we were just waiting. I don't want to write it every time. Those cancel, and we're left with p minus 5 over p minus 9. And that's the answer for number 10. All right, number 11. Number 11, we have to find a common denominator, and it's going to be r times r plus 6. So this one we're going to do r over r, and this one we're going to do r plus 6 over r plus 6. So we've got r squared, r times r, minus r plus 6. Remember, it's minus all of that over this. You don't want to distribute that r in the denominator because we're going to have to factor it anyway. So this becomes r squared minus r minus 6 in the numerator, because this negative has to go to both. So when we factor that, we say what multiplies to give you negative 6 and adds to give you negative 1. It's going to be a negative 3 and a plus 2. And then we've got this, and we're going to say, what can we cancel? Oh, look at that. We can cancel anything. That is actually our answer. Nothing cancels. All right, let's look at number 12. We're going to have to multiply this one by h minus 5 over h minus 5, and this one by h minus 2 over h minus 2. So this first one becomes 3 times h minus 5 plus 5 times h minus 2 over h minus 2 times h minus 5. Distributing the 3 and 5, we get 3h minus 15 plus 5h minus 10 in the numerator, and then we got our denominator. So let's combine like terms. We get 8h minus 25. Is that right? Yep. Over h minus 2 times h minus 5. Can we simplify that at all? We cannot. That is actually the answer, because nothing can be factored out of 8 and 25. All right, I guess they're trying to trick us here. Now, our last kind are the complex fractions that we just did. So let's do this. We're going to, well, as I write this down, I'm going to factor. So what can I take out of 15x and 10? I can take a 5 out. So I get 3x minus 2 over x minus 8 times, and I'm going to actually write this down here where I have more space. So I'm taking a 5 out. And then I take the reciprocal. Don't forget, you have to take the reciprocal of the denominator. So I'm going to say what multiplies to give me 32 and adds to give me negative 12. And that's going to be 8 and 4, both negative. And then in the bottom, I have a 3x minus 2. Now I can cancel things. And I'm left with 5 times x minus 4. And that's the answer. All right, number 14. First, I have to get a one fraction in the numerator. But I already have the same denominator, so I can just write it as m minus 1 over 3 over 1 minus m squared over 21. So I'm going to write the numerator times the reciprocal of the denominator. Then I'm going to factor the things that I can, which is just this 1 minus m, 1 plus m. And what can I cancel? Well, 3 goes into there once, 3 goes into there 7. Can I cancel m minus 1 and 1 minus m? Yes, only if I put a negative. So I end up with negative 7 over 1 plus m for my answer for number 14. 2 more. Number 15. I've got to have a common denominator in the numerator, so I'm going to have to multiply this by 5 over 5. That's going to be p squared minus 100 over 5. And in the denominator, I'm going to have to multiply by this by 10 over 10, and that's going to be p minus 10 over 10. Now, p squared minus 100 is a difference of 2 perfect squares. I take the reciprocal of the denominator, and then I start canceling, and I get 2 times p plus 10 for my answer there. And the last one for number 16, common denominator in the numerator is going to be v squared. So it's going to be v over v. So I get 4v squared minus 1 over v squared. And in the denominator, it's going to be 2v. So it's 2v minus 1 over 2v. And when I write this, 4v squared minus 1 is actually a difference of 2 perfect squares. And I take the reciprocal, and then I see what I can cancel. I can cancel a v with one of those, and I'm left with 2 times 2v plus 1 over v. And that's my answer. All right, that was a quick review of all the different operations. So you try some for the homework and see how it goes.